So Muaz, great to see you again. Just initially, can you just tell us how you're settling in and how are things going from your point of view?
Yeah, it started really well. It was a bit surprising, I think, more than anything else, just to see the condition the boys were in to begin with when we initially started. I anticipated, because they'd had quite a tough season last year, they'd have quite a lot of time off, and you know, typically with players when they have time off, they don't really do much. But the state they came back in was really positive, and it just meant we could kick them on sooner than we planned, which was quite good.
Excellent. Understand a new gym's been located this year for the boys. Can you just tell us a little bit about that gym and how good a fit it is for the boys?
Well, yeah, so we're over at Iron Athlete Gym over on Effingham Street. It's sort of a classically strongman / bodybuilding kind of gym, but it gives us the right vibe for the kind of training we need. I mean, I think the boys were in EIS last year, and while it's a great facility, it's a really nice space. It wasn't really suitable for us as a team to really get that togetherness when we train. So we like to train us in like relatively large groups, and I think the space there didn't really allow for it. Whereas in Iron Athlete, it's a sort of a big hangar style kind of gym, which allows us to get all the boys in at once, and it really gets us a good vibe in there.
And the boys enjoying that environment?
Yeah, they love that kind of, sort of steel environment and not too fancy with machines with some of the old iron. And I mean, the classics in terms of S&C, just keep it simple, isn't it? It works, and I think it's the same with lifting as well. So.
Brilliant. Well, you just started your second block of training, but how did the first 6-week block go for yourself, the boys, and specifically what were the sort of things you worked on in that first 6-week block?
Yeah, so I think as I alluded to in the first question, we progressed them quicker than I initially planned for, simply because they were in such a good state when they came back. A lot of it was about just building a solid base, just making sure that we're physically enough to have a high work rate. So a lot of tempo running, a lot of long, hard slogs, but they got through it, they grinded out, and they did really well. And it allowed us to, essentially, when we came back in this block, to really start things on a nice, intense setting.
So the long, hard slog of the first block, is it difficult to keep morale up when there's no rugby ball and no skills as such, and it is, hard physically? What's the mood like at that point?
Well, I think that was one of the things that really surprised us as a coaching squad. Typically, you'd think you'd have those sort of battles with athletes, wanting to either play straight away, get a ball in their hand. But I think it was interesting to see how they picked each other up and understood the purpose of what they were doing, and knowing that it only benefited them in the long run. So they all just dug in and they kept each other up when they needed to. So it was good.
Excellent. So, anybody jumping out at you? Any surprises in a good way? Boys excelling a bit ahead of schedule?
Well, initially, with the way that the way I planned the running we were going to do, I suspected the boys would be further apart in terms of position specific. So I might expect the back rows to might be leading, or some of the inside centres to be leading. But typically, what we saw was there was no real spread across the group. So the boys who had been in those sort of full-time environments before stayed at the front. So you have your props right at the top of the line with the running, leading things, and it was quite good to see a lack of a drop-off. Obviously, there wasn't too much of a speed focus in there, where some of the backs might have an advantage, but with the conditioning, everyone stayed right on top of each other, which was quite good to see. Yeah.
Excellent. So you're back this week, second block of work to be done. So is the workload or the emphasis about what you're going to be working on with the boys, has that changed? Is that changing?
Yeah, so on pitch we've gone a real intense form now. So everything's coming on about speed and how fast we can play that game. I mean, if you heard some of Andy Key's interviews earlier, he talked about having the fittest squad in the championship, and I think that's all about being able to repeat those high intensity efforts, and that's essentially what we're doing now, repeating high intensity efforts. Yeah.
So just touched on it there with Andy Key, and wants to be the fittest or one of the fittest in the league this season. Mo, is that achievable? Obviously your prime target, this is your role. Are you confident you can get to where you need to be?
Well, certainly off the back of the first 6 weeks, and even back into this first week back, it's put me in a position that says we're not too far away. So I think we're on target to become the fittest side. And I think initially, in terms of your rugby fitness, you might look across the championship and even across the premiership, and you might see some sides that, if you put them on a test, they will all score similar scores. But then it's how your game management reflects your fitness as well. And I think we will be able to come across that very well.
And finally, just how excited are you? The season's not that far away now. Is it something you're really looking forward to?
I've been saying all week to the boys, I just can't wait to see them fly now. They've been a bit like cage animals. I want to let them go. I want to see what they can do.
Brilliant, mate. Thank you.